Cruise ships is one of the best ways to work, travel, explore what the world has to offer whilst getting paid and saving lots and lots of money. And that is what we're going to discuss in today's video. I've actually compiled 6 tips that will help you to enhance your journey, whether you are just starting out or you are still thinking about joining cruise ships. Now, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is 𝐌𝐍𝐓𝐄𝐑𝐄𝐒. I've dedicated this playlist, Work and Travel Overseas, to answer all related questions as well as to give you tips and techniques on what to do to begin and enhance your cruise ship career. Now, when I started about 10 years ago my international career, I've actually started working on cruise ships in 2018. I simply did not know how to apply. I did not know what to do. I basically had nobody who was guiding me throughout this journey, and that is the purpose of this playlist. So please make sure, if you haven't subscribed, do so. Turn on the bell notification icon so you do not miss any new content that I post whenever I make it available. Now, without wasting time, let's go straight to tip number 1. Now, this is where I will highly recommend that you cut down on major expenses back home before leaving and boarding the ship. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Now, this is going to entirely depend on your own personal condition and situation. But when I started cruise ships, I was actually renting out an apartment, living with a friend of mine. Before I left and came on cruise ships, I decided that, you know what, there is no point in keeping this apartment, simply because I am paying monthly rent and I'm not even utilizing the space. Back then, at that time, it made sense because I could save more money not having to pay rent because now I was away. However, situations have changed now. I've got a family, I've got my wife and my kids who are living in our apartment, and that is basically my current situation. And like I said, it's going to depend on your own individual situation and circumstance. So really try to look deep and dive into what can you possibly eliminate and get rid of, which you're not going to need, because let's be honest, when you are gone, you are going to be either living for 4 months to 6, 8 months or 9 months, depending on your position that you have applied for and the kind of job that you'll be doing on board. But I am away for 4 months and then I come back home for 2 months. Now, moving on to tip number 2. This is closely related to tip number 1, because you might be saying to yourself, but you are still paying rent, 𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐿. How come you're saying you are saving? Like I said, this is going to depend on your own condition and individual circumstance. But then if I were to work home at land, and let's make a typical example and say I was working away from home and I had to travel basically on a daily basis, it would either be impossible because I wouldn't make it on time, or I would need to rent a place closer to where I work. Now, I work far, and that is exactly why we're here on number 2. But then when I come on board, I do not have to pay rent. This is one incredible way that I'm able to save even more money, because if I was to be working back home in hospitality, I wouldn't be making the amount of money that I'm working on cruise ships. But because now when I come here, everything is being taken care of. When I come into my cabin, things like my linen, bed sheets, towels, all of those things, even including food, are taken care of. So I do not need to worry or stress about this. Whatever I make on a monthly basis, I simply take that and send to my family, as well as save and do whatever I want with that money. Now, moving on to tip number 3. This is uniform and laundry. Now, let's be honest. In most companies, or in some companies, you either have to provide your own uniform or you need to pay for your uniform. Now, when you get on cruise ships, this is one thing, depending again on your position that you are doing. But this is one thing that they provide for you, which you do not have to worry about as an expense. Now, this can really add up, especially if you were to buy your own uniform. Now, with that being provided, this is a saving for me. I look at it that way, because even the shoes that I wear, I'm given, a certain amount of money that I can claim back at work, which works out. Sometimes the amount is enough, sometimes it's not. It just depends. But then for people like musicians and dancers and entertainers, again, depending on the company that you will be working and applying for. Some companies, I know, like my current company, they get a certain budget that gets allocated to them in order to buy their uniform. It's considered uniform, but it's actually their personal clothes, but because they are wearing it as part of their uniform, this is why they get this. Again, do a little bit of research before applying for your position, what will be needed. But I can tell you, in most positions we are wearing uniform, especially in cruise ships, uniform will be provided for you. Tip number 4 will be food. We've actually touched a little bit on this, but let me go a little deeper and explain. Now, when you get on board, this is one thing you really don't have to worry about, and this is a big saving point. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner will be provided in the crew mess. Now, depending on the rank and position that you have on board, you might be, allowed to go eat in guest areas like in the restaurants and bars. Again, this will depend on the rank and position. In some companies, I know this will be included as a privilege. In some companies, you can pay for this. But then again, you just need to know which company you're working for and what they provide. But in general, for all crew members and in all cruise lines, food is something that you don't need to worry about, because again, they will be serving this in the crew mess. Now, in some instances, the food might not be really great, but then it's really decent food which does the job. Again, another thing that I've seen that I've spent money on is when I go out on ports, simply because I want to try out different cuisines, I want to explore, I want to just immerse myself into the locals and explore what it's like and how is the food in that destination. And this is something that can add up a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong or right to do this. This will be entirely your own decision to make. But then I'm just putting it out there so that you know that at the end of the day, if you are somebody that goes out a lot and you look at how much you're spending in a month, this can be a really, really big cost. But again, this is something that is optional, because again, you don't have to pay for food. But I do go out sometimes. I don't really spend much money because I find ways, to be able to just go out and explore. Sometimes I will eat on board before I go out, so that when I go in a port, I just have a coffee, or I buy a light snack or something that's not going to cost a lot of money, because I know that at the end of the day, this will come back and add at the end of the month to my expenses. Moving on to tip number 5, this will be gym membership. Now, on board cruise ships, again, depending on the company that you are working for, there will be a crew gym. In some instances, you might be allowed to, use the guest gym outside busy hours or peak hours. But then again, this is going to depend on your cruise ships that you are working for. But in most cases, a crew gym will be available at no cost. This is a huge saver for me, because I remember when I started cruise ships, I actually had a gym membership back home. I was paying back then about 900 Rand for a premium membership in Virgin Active, simply because I wanted to have access to a gym when I was home. But then as time went by, I saw that, I'm actually wasting money here, simply because on board, I have a gym, I can work out, I can do whatever I want. And when I'm home for that 2 months, I can do home workouts or even run sometimes if I'm not lazy. But at the end of the day, this counts as a saving for me, simply because now I know that I have a gym included for free, which helps me to keep myself healthy and, of course, looking forward to continue with my life. Now, on to tip number 6. This will be the internet. Now, this will depend again on the cruise ship that you are working for. I know some cruise ships, you have to pay for internet. Some, like the one I'm currently working for, I don't pay for internet. It's all inclusive. But then again, when I say all inclusive, it might not be the best at times, because if you are thinking of being for free, there's a lot of people that are using this internet, and sometimes the speed might not be the best. So you just need to work around what it is that you need to do, because in most cases, if you're using just WhatsApp or calls, you can be able to do these things. But then to upload, data, like sometimes when I have to upload videos, I really need to go out in ports, or I need to do it at night during quiet times, and this will take time to be able to do it. But then at the end of the day, it all comes down to being the job done, which at the end of the day, I'm able to do what I want to do. I know back when I started, we had to pay for internet, and this was a huge cost. Some companies still actually, charge for internet. It will depend. They might charge per day, they might charge per certain megabytes that they allocate, but then this is a cost that you can save on if you just need basic, communication with your family. And if you, like I said, you really need to upload bigger files, you can always find a restaurant, or sometimes in certain ports, there will be crew areas where they provide Wi-Fi for free. We have reached the end of today's video, and if I can quickly give you a recap on what we have covered. On number 1, I spoke about cutting down on major expenses before leaving home, and again, I would really suggest that you look deep into this one, because it can really save you a lot of money, especially if you are looking to be at sea for some time, where there's things that you do not need, especially when you are away. This can be a huge saving factor for you. On number 2, I spoke about rent. When I come on board, this is a huge saving plus for me, because I don't have to worry about rent. Also, the amenities inclusive, anything that is here in the cabin I find here, and some stuff I bring for myself. This is another saving factor. On to number 3, I spoke about uniform and laundry, and actually I forgot to mention about this one, where your personal laundry will be different to your uniform. So you are allowed to wash and give to the laundry guys your uniform. You don't have to pay anything. But then when it comes to personal laundry, this one you have to take care for yourself. Now, I've paid people in the past to wash my laundry. It just depends on what I want. I still do sometimes, but then it just, again, like I said, depends on what I want for that time. And then on number 4, I covered food. This is where you do not need to worry about food. Everything is available when you come on board: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The only food that you decide and choose to pay for is when you go outside. And again, you can play around with this one. You can either increase your budget or you can decrease it depending on what you want to do. On number 5, I covered gym membership. This is really another big saving point for me, because the gym, when I come on board, is included for me. I don't have to contribute a single cent. And then lastly, on number 6, was the internet. Again, this will depend on the company that you have applied for. So just do your research before coming, whether it will be inclusive or you will be paying for internet. Now, if I happen to forget anything, please feel free in the comment section to leave it there. I will do my best to attend that. And if there's a topic which you think we haven't covered or you want to suggest, also feel free. Remember that I created this playlist for that one reason, to help you to make your journey easier and smoother. So make sure you are subscribed to my channel, turn on the notification icon so you do not miss any new content that I post. And with that being said, it's been a pleasure hosting and presenting this video. Like always, stay safe, be good. This is 𝐊𝐍𝐿𝐍 signing off. Goodbye, my friend.